Donna,
Angie.
thank you very much for agreeing to talk with me about critical creativity. So shall we start with what critical creativity means to you?
Yes, what critical creativity... Now, critical creativity means to me that I am able to pay... it's a worldview or a paradigm that pays particular attention to the creative aspects of transformation. So what it means to me is that I'm able in my work as a researcher to pay specific attention to those aspects, so that I recognise that it takes work to transform, and that I'm able to put effort and particularly record that work and pay specific attention to how I move towards that. Can't hear me with that in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a bit more about the meaning?
About what it means to me?
Yes.
It means that I can value different kinds of knowledge, that I can value the kinds of knowledge that are within me that I don't know that I have until I pay attention to them, but also the kinds of knowledge that the people I work with have that are embedded in their actions, that come from their own personal traditions and values, and that come maybe from wider spiritual traditions and values that don't necessarily always get paid attention to in this kind of research. There are quite a few aspects of critical creativity that I'm just beginning to explore or to really get to know myself. So at the moment I've mostly been focusing on the way I can use critical creativity to help me combine creative and cognitive critique. So that's the thing that's really been the most the most beneficial for me.
Yeah. So can you tell us how you're using these ideas in your research?
In my research.
Yeah.
I've used these ideas in my research by, for example, observing practitioners in practice for short periods of time, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and then before we go into a dialogue about what's happening in their practice to examine their expertise, we've been, both of us, creating some kind of creative expression to express our feelings about that work. Yeah. And from there we've been, and then when we have a critical dialogue, then we're working from the creative expressions before actually looking back at the work itself to see what kind of feelings and to see what knowledge or issues surface from within the creativity. And after comparing our responses to the creative expressions, then we go back and look again at the professional practice and see how it matches together.
Yeah. And how do your co-inquirers, your participants, how do they find this way of working?
They found it a little bit odd to start with, although they were, I guess because of the kind of people who responded to my request to work with me, they were open to working in these ways. To start with, they felt a little bit nervous or felt like they weren't really sure that it would help, and they did it because I wanted to, I think. But they've now without exception, they've all seen how it helps them to quickly get to the nitty-gritty, to quickly get to those things that are important for them.
And you were talking the other day about how even when you're not there, they're working in this way?
Yes, even when I'm not there now, that's right. Sometimes the participants in our cooperative inquiry group have been observing each other in practice, and then using creative expression to examine what's happening in those moments. To not only to examine it then, but to record it, so they can go back to it afterwards. It helps them. It's a focus for reflection and dialogue, and it captures something about their practice that words don't capture alone. It makes the invisible visible.
Yes. And do they experience that?
Yes. And in different ways. And I don't know if they'd all be using it in their own reflections now, but 3 or 4 of them definitely, and some of them are using it in group work as well.
Yes. Fantastic. So your methodology for your cooperative inquiry
Yes.
Can you tell us about
About the methodology.
yes, about how you're using critical creativity in the theory underpinning
In
your
my theory
research.
underpinning my research.
Yeah.
Do you mean about the principles that I've worked
Yes.
from? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I started from the idea that we are embedded in the world. We are already influencing the world around us, and the world is influencing us, and not just the physical world, but our social world. And that the way we operate in the world is embodied. We know how to be in the world, and we figure out how to be in the world already and always. That's how we are. So a lot of the knowledge that we create and that we share with each other is tacit or embodied. So particularly when things are going, sometimes that's handy and sometimes it's not. And it's always handy to understand our position better. And so I needed a paradigm that would allow me to value those kinds of knowledge and would allow me to use methods that would uncover and celebrate that knowledge. And as well, I had the assumption that research activities should be beneficial and should help all involved to flourish, not just myself. And critical creativity has as its ultimate goal human flourishing, so that fitted. And I'm examining, the whole purpose of my research was to look at professional artistry, and professional artistry is the engine of critical creativity. And how that works particularly together is still something I'm trying to understand properly myself. How it's possible for me to study professional artistry with an assumption that professional artistry is necessary to work within this paradigm. So that's still something I'm working on in my head, in my body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And is working in this way helping the advanced nurse practitioners to understand their own professional artistry?
Yes, it has helped them to understand their professional artistry, but also the things that it's helped them to understand the things that may hold them back from developing more professional, or for practicing in ways that could be, of practicing with professional artistry, and it's helped them to understand how they can continue to develop it in ways that are more intentional and more conscious, so that they're able to become even more expert, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think that it's helped them not necessarily. I don't know if I've got evidence to show that they have really changed their practice. I think I have evidence, or we have created evidence to show that they are better understanding their practice and able to articulate it. And perhaps that has. It would be strange if that hadn't helped them to develop the expertise, but I have to wait and see if that comes out.
Yes.
But
Well, good luck with the data analysis and interpretation,
yes,
Donna.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.